Hey, shalom, shalom. All right, before I get started with this lesson today, I just want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakhakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and salutations unto the elect. All right. Now, in this lesson today, I'm just going to be focusing on, the topic on how you have to go into the Hebrew and the Greek in order to get the understanding of the scriptures. All right, and I've went over this topic many times, all right, on this channel, pretty recently. But I just want to go into a specific word in this lesson, and this word being Mark. All right, as we're going to get in Revelation 13:16, Romans 16, and Job. All right, but just to pull out this definition here of the meaning lost in translation, and when you're breaking down this particular topic, all right, you have to. I believe it's very important to go into this word lost in translation. All right, but let's get into this word in its meaning, or I should say a phrase. It says lost in translation refers to the loss of nuances, meaning, or emotional context when text or speech is translated from one language to another, often due to a literal translation rather than an idiomatic adaptation. It signifies that the original message intended significance did not survive the translation or the transition between languages. All right. So basically, what it's saying is, all right, when a language is translated from when basically a word is translated from one language to another, all right, you have this phrase lost in translation. It loses its meaning. All right, we know that the Bible was originally written in the Hebrew. All right, that was translated into the Greek, all right, and then the Latin, and then the English that we have today. All right, and through those translations from the Hebrew to the Greek and to the English, all right, it loses the words lose their meaning. All right, as they're translated from one language to another. All right, we're gonna get examples of that in this lesson going into the word Mark. All right, and it's very important if you want to get a deeper knowledge, all right, a deeper understanding of these scriptures. You must, all right, it's a must to go into the Hebrew, all right, and the Greek. All right, that's how you get the full understanding of the scriptures. All right, and IUIC teach that we don't have to go into the Hebrew. Just give me the English. The English, is good for me. That's what one of the IUIC, how should I say it? One of the IUIC leaders, that's what he said. Just give me the English. The English is good for me. Well, if you approach these scriptures with that mindset, you're not going to get any understanding out of the precepts. All right. And starting with the Apostle Tahar all the way down, the Apostles of Great Millstone, they always teach, all right, to go into your words, go into the Hebrew and go into the Greek. And in doing that, you get the understanding of these scriptures. And we're going to prove that in Revelation 13 and verse 16, going into this word Mark. All right. The word of the day, Mark. All right. So this is Revelation 13 and 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. All right. And we know that this prophecy in Revelation 13 and 16 is speaking of the RFID chip. The mark is the RFID chip. All right. And if you go into this word in the Greek mark, all right, it's what? All right, let's get it. Here it is. All right, in the Greek is charagma, and stamp and imprinted mark. All right, we break this down all the time, but that's the going into the Revelation 13 and 16 breakdown, but that's not what I'm going into in this lesson. But the point of this lesson is to get this Greek word here, charagma, all right, for this word mark. All right, this is completely different than the mark here in Romans 16 and verse 17. Let's get it. All right. Let's see. Well, yeah, Romans 16, slacking. Romans 16 and verse 17. All right. It reads, Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. You see, so now you approaching the scripture with the mindset of, oh, just give me the English. The English is good for me. All right, you would think that these two marks that's being spoken of here is the same mark as is written in Revelation 13 and 16. And that's what IUIC thinks. And we're going to bring out Job a precept that IUIC used to say that, the mark is just sin. No, that's not true. The mark is the RFID chip, but they try and use these other precepts that has the word mark in it and say, look, that's the mark. It's talking about the chip. I mean, not the chip. It's sin. As we're gonna get in Job, 10 and 14. But let's get Romans 16 and 17. This mark here is a different mark. But let's read it again. Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. All right, let's go to this word mark here. It's a different word in the Greek. All right, it's very important to go into the Hebrew and the Greek. All right, now it's different. It's skopeo in the Greek. Outline of biblical usage: to look at, observe, contemplate, to mark, to fix one's eyes upon, direct one's attention to anyone. You see, to look to take heed to thyself. You see, so what Apostle Paul was saying here, to anybody that has a contrary or different doctrine than the one you learn, look, scope them out. All right, put the spotlight on them. Keep a watchful eye on them. All right, be careful of him. That's what Apostle Paul was saying here. All right, it's completely different from the mark here in Revelation 13 and 16, which is in the mark in the Greek is charagma, which means what? A stamp or imprinted mark. All right, which is talking about the RFID chip. All right, it's completely different. So that's why it's very important, all right, for you to go into the original language, because that's how you can get the full understanding of the context of the scripture. All right, so let's get Job. Let's get Job 10 and verse 14, and this is the precept that the leadership of IUIC used to say that. See, look, the mark is sin, because he said it. Let's just read it. Job 10 and 14. If I sin, then thou markest me, and thou wilt not acquit me from mine iniquity. So the leadership of IUIC said, well, see, look. They read the scripture and said, see, look, the mark is sin. Speaking of the mark written in Revelation 13 and 16, they said that mark is talking about sin because of this precept right here, Job 10 and 14, which is completely false. And it shows your lack of diligence of going into the Hebrew and the Greek. All right, so let's get this word mark here, markist in the Hebrew. All right, markist, which in the Hebrew is shamar. All right, outline of biblical usage: to keep, the guard, to observe, to take heed. All right, to keep, to have charge of, to keep, the guard, to watch, to keep, watch. And ward, protect, save, watch, watchman, to watch for, to wait. So we see what this word shamar is speaking of. It means to watch, all right, to keep guard of, to take heed to. All right, completely different from the mark written in Revelation 13 and 16, where it's speaking about a stamp, an imprinted mark, a physical mark that will be implanted inside of you. Completely different. So it shows you, all right, it shows you why going into the Hebrew, going into the original language is very important. All right, and it shows you the limitations of the English language. All right, one word, like for instance, the word world. All right, that word world in the English, you may, if you say it in the English, you may think, oh, the whole world, the entire world, everybody. No, but in the Greek, it's three different ones. Going into going into John 3 and 16, of course. If you were to read that scripture in the English, the word world there, you would just think, oh, it's talking about the whole entire world. Everybody. No. Well, that's where you have to go into the Greek, the original language, and to get the full understanding. There's four different worlds in the Greek. All right, and you have to know which one it's talking about. So that was pretty much it. Hopefully I made the point. Again, this going into this word mark. All right, it's important to go into the Hebrew and the Greek to get the understanding. All right, to get the understanding of the scriptures. And I just showed a few examples. Going into Job 10 and 14, Romans 16 and 17, Revelation 13 and 16, to show that there's different marks. There's different meanings for the word mark. If you go into the Greek and the Hebrew. All right. So that was pretty much it. Hopefully this lesson was edifying, and to basically exhort you brothers out there to be more studious and go into the words. All right, don't adopt the mindset of IUIC of just give me the English. The English is good for me. Basically using that to say, oh, we don't need to go into the Hebrew and the Greek to understand. Well, no, don't use that. Don't adopt that mindset. You brothers out there, stick to the doctrine of the apostles, man. Go into the Greek, go into the Hebrew to get the understanding of these particular words and to get the full understanding of the scripture, to get a deeper level of knowledge of these scriptures, you know. But that was pretty much it, man. Hopefully this lesson was edifying and straight to the point. But with that, just want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and salutation